Don't touch it, she warned. I did anyway, and rewrote the laws of alien biology. Dr. Elias Rourke had learned long ago that silence in space never meant peace. The research station Helix Point floated above the pale blue world of Kepri 9, a planet shared by many species under a fragile agreement. The station was famous across the galaxy, not because of its size or weapons, but because it was neutral ground. Knowledge mattered more here than power. Elias stood behind a clear observation wall, his hands folded behind his back. He watched as three alien researchers argued in low tones near the center chamber. Their voices sounded sharp and tense, even through translation filters. At the heart of the chamber sat the reason for their fear, the artifact. It did not glow, it did not hum, it did not move. It simply existed. The object was roughly the size of a large table, shaped like a smooth stone that had been melted and reformed many times. Its surface looked soft, almost alive, but no tool had ever managed to take a sample. Scanners showed shifting internal structures that refused to stay the same shape for more than a few seconds. The artifact had been discovered buried beneath the crust of Kepri 9, older than any known civilization. No species claimed it. No records mentioned it. Every attempt to study it had failed. Except now. Elias had been invited because he was human. Humans were still new to the galactic stage. Young, messy, unpredictable, other species often described them as biologically inefficient, which Elias found amusing. Humans survived ice ages, radiation, low gravity, high gravity, poor food, strange air, and constant mistakes. They adapted. That was why he was here. "Dr. Rourke," said a calm voice behind him. He turned to see Celari, the alien researcher who had personally requested his presence. She belonged to a tall, slender species with skin like polished stone and eyes that reflected light like glass. Her kind valued control, stability, and precision above all else. Her posture was rigid. Concern radiated from her. "You have reviewed the data?" she asked. "Yes," Elias replied, "at least the parts that stay the same long enough to read." Celari did not react to the humor. "This artifact has harmed no one," she said carefully, "but it has rejected every attempt to study it. Chemical probes fail, energy scans distort. Autonomous drones stop functioning when they get too close. Yet it hasn't destroyed anything," Elias noted. "No," she agreed, "it simply refuses cooperation." They both looked at the artifact. "What do you think it is?" Elias asked. Celari hesitated. "We do not know," she said. "That alone is dangerous." Elias understood her fear. In alien science, rules mattered. Systems were stable. Biology followed patterns that rarely changed. Something that ignored all known laws was not exciting, it was threatening. "I assume you didn't bring me here to just look at it," Elias said. "No," Celari replied. "We brought you because humans break rules by surviving them." That was the closest thing to a compliment her species ever gave. They entered the chamber together. The air inside felt heavier, though Elias knew that was only his mind reacting. The artifact sat silently, its surface shifting in slow, almost thoughtful movements. Several alien scientists stepped back as Elias approached. "Maintain distance," one of them warned. Elias stopped a few steps away. The artifact reacted. For the first time since its discovery, it changed behavior. The surface patterns slowed. Internal structures aligned. Sensors across the chamber spiked, then stabilized. A wave of quiet spread through the room. "It noticed you," Celari said softly. Elias swallowed. "That's new." "Yes." He took another careful step forward. The artifact did not reject him. Instead, it adjusted. "Run diagnostics," Celari ordered. Data streamed across displays. The artifact was responding, not attacking, not blocking, but adapting. "It's not random," Elias murmured. "It's studying." "That is impossible," another scientist said. "It has no interface." "Neither did early life on Earth," Elias replied. "Yet it learned." He extended a hand, stopping just short of contact. The room held its breath. Celari stepped closer, her voice low and firm. "Do not touch it." Elias froze. "Every species that approached this object believed they could control the outcome," she continued. "None succeeded. You are not immune to consequence simply because you are human." He looked at her. "I don't think it wants control." "Then what does it want?" she asked. Elias looked back at the artifact. The surface rippled faintly, as if reacting to his presence alone. "I think," he said slowly, "it wants to understand." Silence filled the chamber. "You still must not touch it," Celari said. "Observation only." Elias lowered his hand. For now. The artifact remained calm, almost patient. Over the next hours, Elias studied it without contact. He walked around it, he spoke near it. He changed heart rate, breathing patterns, posture. Each time the artifact shifted its internal structures to match his biological signals, not copy, respond. It is mirroring your nervous system, Scifi said, awe creeping into her controlled tone. No, Elias corrected, it's mapping adaptability. The difference mattered. Alien biology worked within limits. Human biology survived by bending them. As the station lights dimmed into artificial night, Elias remained in the chamber alone. Officially, observation hours were over. Unofficially, curiosity did not sleep. He stood once more before the artifact. You don't scare me, he said quietly. You confuse me. And that's worse. The artifact shifted again. Elias felt a strange certainty settle in his chest. This was not a trap. It was not a weapon. It was a question. And humans had always been very good at answering questions no one else dared to ask. Behind the observation wall, unseen by Elias, Scifi watched. Her people believed warnings existed to prevent disaster. But as she observed the artifact's reaction to the human scientist, she realized something unsettling. Perhaps the warning had never been for the human at all. Perhaps it had been for everyone else. The next cycle on Helix Point began with tension hanging in every corridor. Dr. Elias Rourke barely noticed it. His mind was still inside the central chamber, still focused on the artifact that had responded to him when it should not have. For the first time since its discovery, the object had shown interest. Not aggression, not defense. Interest. That alone had shaken the station's scientists. Across Helix Point, discussion rooms filled with quiet arguments. Alien researchers reviewed data again and again, hoping they had made a mistake. The artifact's reactions to Elias did not fit any known model of alien biology or technology. Scifi stood before the council chamber, her hands clasped behind her back. Her people believed in structure. This situation had none. The human must be removed, one council member said. The anomaly is growing. It is not hostile, Scifi replied calmly. That is what makes it dangerous. The council paused. That statement carried weight. Meanwhile, Elias was already on his way back to the chamber. He walked alone, footsteps echoing softly. He felt no fear, only a steady pull, like a problem waiting to be solved. Humans had crossed oceans and planets driven by the same feeling. The artifact waited. The chamber doors sealed behind him. Lights brightened. Sensors activated. The artifact's surface shifted as soon as Elias stepped inside. Good morning, he said quietly. The object responded with a slow, smooth change in texture, forming patterns similar to muscle fibers, then releasing them again. Elias frowned. You're learning fast. He reviewed the overnight data. The artifact had continued low-level activity even in his absence, but it peaked whenever he was nearby. Not when machines approached, not when other species entered, only him. That shouldn't be possible, Elias muttered. Human biology was nothing special, at least not by alien standards. Short lifespans, inefficient organs, emotional responses that interfered with logic. Other species had left humanity behind in many areas, but humans adapted. That truth echoed in his thoughts. Scifi entered the chamber quietly. You were instructed to wait, she said. I couldn't, Elias replied honestly. This thing doesn't feel like a threat. She studied the artifact, then him. Feelings are not data. Sometimes they're the first clue, he said. She did not argue. Instead, she asked, What are you planning? Elias hesitated. I want to test a theory. Scifi's eyes narrowed slightly. Explain. It's not reacting to my biology as it exists, he said. It's reacting to my biology as it changes. Silence followed. That is not how biology works, she said. It is for humans. Scifi looked at the artifact again. You wish to touch it? Yes, her answer came instantly. No, Elias expected that. This object has refused every form of direct contact, she continued. Some tools were damaged, some systems failed, we do not know the risk. I know, Elias said, that's why it has to be me. Because you are human, because humans evolved by surviving bad ideas. That made her pause. Before she could respond, alarms flickered briefly across the chamber. The artifact's internal structures suddenly aligned again, more clearly than before. It was reacting to the conversation. It understands intent, Elias said softly, or at least change. Scifi felt something unfamiliar twist inside her. Concern mixed with awe, she took a step closer. One contact, controlled. If anything destabilizes, we stop. Elias nodded. Agreed. The room filled with silent observers as more scientists watched from behind the barrier. Elias removed his glove. His bare hand felt the artificial air of the chamber. His heart rate increased slightly. The artifact responded immediately, its surface warming by a fraction of a degree. That's new, someone whispered. Elias slowly reached forward. Celeri's voice was steady but tight. Do not rush. I won't, he said. His fingers touched the artifact. Nothing exploded. Nothing failed. Instead, the artifact softened. The surface molded gently around his fingertips, not trapping, not pulling, just adjusting. Internal structures reshaped themselves, copying the rhythm of his heartbeat, then changing again, faster, more complex. Data screens flooded with information. It's synchronizing, a scientist said in disbelief. No, Elias said, eyes wide. It's asking. As soon as he realized it, the artifact reacted. A wave of sensation passed through Elias, not pain, not force, but awareness. His body responded instinctively, heart rate adjusted, breathing changed, muscles tensed, then relaxed. Human biology did what it always did, it adapted. The artifact followed. It did not copy Elias' form, it copied his process. Celeri stepped closer to the barrier, unable to look away. This violates biological law, she said. Only yours, Elias replied quietly. The artifact's internal structure now showed layered systems that rewrote themselves every second, guided by feedback rather than fixed rules. This thing wasn't built for stable species, Elias realized. It was built for change. Suddenly, the artifact released his hand. Elias stumbled back, catching himself on the table. Medical scan, someone shouted. Elias waved them off. I'm fine. And he was, no damage, no abnormal readings, but the artifact had changed. Its surface now showed repeating patterns, symbols maybe, that reflected human neural pathways. It learned something permanent, Celeri said softly. Elias nodded. And so did we. The council reconvened immediately. Fear spread quickly among species that had believed biology was fixed. That life followed strict paths. The artifact's reaction proved otherwise. If humans can interact with it, one leader said, then humans become a variable we cannot predict. Celeri stood before them again. Humans have always been unpredictable, she said. That has not destroyed the galaxy. Not yet, another replied. Elias waited outside, listening through the wall. He felt no pride, only responsibility. Later, Celeri joined him. They have agreed to continued study, she said. Under strict limits. Elias smiled faintly. That's fair. She studied him. You changed nothing physically, yet everything has changed. That's what humans do, he said. She hesitated, then asked, did you feel fear? Yes, Elias answered honestly. But fear is just information. The artifact pulsed faintly behind them, active even now. Celeri looked at it one last time. For the first time, she said, I believe the warning was incomplete. Elias raised an eyebrow. How so? She met his gaze. We warned you not to touch it. And we should have warned ourselves what would happen if you did. The artifact rested quietly, no longer refusing study. It had found what it was waiting for, a species that could change fast enough to listen. The artifact did not sleep. That fact became clear within days. Even when the chamber lights dimmed and research shifts changed, the object remained active at a low level. Its inner structures moved slowly, calmly, as if thinking. Sensors showed no energy source, no mechanical core, and no fixed pattern. It was alive in a way no one understood, and it was changing. Dr. Elias Rourke spent most of his time now inside the observation chamber. New rules had been created just for him. He was the only one allowed to approach within a certain distance. Direct contact was limited and carefully measured. Still, every time he entered, the artifact reacted, not the same way twice. That confirms it, Elias said one cycle, studying the data streams. It isn't following instructions, it's building responses. Celeri stood beside him, reviewing the same information. It is rewriting itself. Yes, Elias replied, but not randomly. The artifact's internal structure now showed layered systems that looked almost like decision trees. One change led to another and another, guided by feedback from the environment. From him. Alien scientists struggled to accept what they were seeing. Their biology followed rules passed down unchanged for thousands of cycles. Small variation existed, but nothing like this. Nothing intentional. This should not be possible, one researcher said. Biology reacts, it does not plan. Human biology plans all the time, Elias said, just not consciously. He adjusted the settings and stepped closer. The artifact responded by reshaping its surface into a texture similar to human skin, then abandoning it seconds later for something new. It's testing ideas, Elias said quietly. Scifi folded her hands. Or learning limits. That thought stayed with Elias. The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Elias was connected to monitoring equipment when the artifact made a sudden, sharp internal shift. Data spiked across every display. The room filled with alarms, not warnings, but alerts of massive biological activity. What did it do? Scifi asked. Elias stared at the screen. It simulated evolution. Silence followed. The artifact had compressed thousands of biological trial-and-error cycles into seconds. It wasn't changing itself blindly anymore. It was running controlled variations, discarding failures instantly. It's not alive like us, Elias said. It's alive like an idea. The council demanded answers. Scifi and Elias stood before them again, data projected across the chamber. This artifact is not a weapon, Scifi said. It is not a tool, it is a biological framework. For what purpose? A council member asked. Elias answered. To bridge species that cannot change. Murmurs spread through the chamber. For most species, Elias continued, biology is fixed. That limits cooperation. Some species cannot survive certain worlds, others cannot interact safely with different life forms. This artifact was designed to adapt biology safely. And it failed, someone said. It failed with static species, Elias corrected. It succeeded with humans because humans are already incomplete. That word drew attention. Incomplete? Scifi asked later privately. Yes, Elias said. Human biology isn't finished, it never was. We evolve through stress, learning, and environment. Our bodies and minds expect change. The artifact pulsed softly as if agreeing. Further tests confirmed it. When Elias experienced controlled stress, temperature changes, altered gravity, mental strain, the artifact adapted alongside him. It did not copy his body, it copied the method. Adapt, test, keep what works, discard the rest. This is guided evolution, Scifi said. Without chaos. That's the difference, Elias replied. We evolved through chaos, this evolves through choice. That frightened the galaxy. News spread quickly, not rumors, verified data. Humans had interacted with an ancient biological system and changed it. More importantly, the system now responded to humans only. Some species reacted with excitement, others with deep fear. A species that could evolve on purpose changed everything. Trade agreements paused. Military observers appeared near neutral space. Not to threaten, but to watch. If humans can rewrite biology, one leader said, then no environment limits them. And if no environment limits them, another replied, then they are never truly contained. Elias felt the weight of it. He had not meant to create fear. He had only touched something no one else dared to. Back in the chamber, the artifact did something new. It projected biological models into the air, soft light shaped into living diagrams. They showed possible adaptations for different species, all stable, all safe. It's offering solutions, Elias whispered. Scifi studied the projections. This could end biological conflict. Yes, Elias said, or start a new kind. The council argued again. Some wanted to restrict the artifact, some wanted to destroy it. Others wanted humans removed entirely. Scifi stood firm. Fear does not erase truth. The truth, a council member replied, is that humanity has become a variable greater than any technology. Elias spoke then, calm but clear. Humans don't want control, he said. We want understanding. This artifact didn't change us. It revealed what we already were. The artifact pulsed again. Scans confirmed something unexpected. It had integrated human biological feedback permanently. Even without Elias present, it now ran adaptive simulations based on human principles. You rewrote it, Scifi said quietly. No, Elias replied. It asked, I answered. That night's cycle, Elias stood alone with the artifact. You chose us, he said softly. Why? The artifact responded by forming a simple pattern: stress, adaptation, stability, a cycle. You needed someone who could change without breaking, Elias realized. Humans had always been fragile. That was their strength. Behind him, Scifi watched, her people's certainty shaken. For the first time, she said, biology is no longer destiny. Elias nodded. It's responsibility. The artifact dimmed its light, settling into a steady rhythm. The galaxy had crossed a line, not because of conquest, not because of war, but because one species had proven that life could choose what it became. Fear did not arrive suddenly. It spread slowly, quietly, through meetings, reports, and careful words. Across the galaxy, leaders reviewed the same data again and again. The artifact had changed. It now followed adaptive biological logic based on human interaction, not because it was forced, but because it preferred it. That single detail disturbed many. On Helix Point, security increased, not with weapons, but with observers. More ships arrived in neutral space, claiming routine study missions. Everyone watched humanity closely now. Dr. Elias Rourke felt it in the air. He was no longer just a scientist. He was a symbol. Celari walked beside him through the station corridor. Conversations stopped as they passed. Eyes followed, some curious, some wary. "They are afraid," Elias said quietly. "Yes," Celari replied, "but not of the artifact. Of us." She did not deny it. In the central chamber, the artifact rested calmly. Its surface moved in slow, thoughtful patterns. It no longer rejected scans. Instead, it adjusted itself to avoid interference. "It's learning restraint," Elias said. "That concept alone frightens them," Celari answered. The council called for an emergency session. This time, the chamber was full. Representatives from dozens of species appeared as light projections. Their expressions varied, calm, tense, uncertain, but the emotion beneath was the same: concern. "The issue before us," one council leader began, "is not the artifact itself." Elias felt the focus shift. "It is humanity," the word echoed. Celari stood tall. "Humans have broken no laws." "No," another replied. "They have broken assumptions." That was harder to argue against. A third voice spoke. "A species that can guide its own evolution creates imbalance." Elias stepped forward. "We don't guide it consciously," he said. "We respond to challenges, that's all." "But now," the leader replied, "you have proof that change can be controlled." Silence followed. "That changes responsibility," Celari said carefully. "Not guilt." The debate stretched for hours. Some demanded limits on human research. Others suggested isolating the artifact. A few spoke of removing humans from shared scientific projects entirely. Fear spoke louder than logic. Finally, a proposal emerged. "Demonstrate restraint," a council member said. "Show us that humanity will not use this discovery to dominate." Elias agreed. The demonstration was carefully planned. A species called the Turan volunteered. Their biology struggled in mixed environments, limiting trade and cooperation. The artifact projected possible adaptations: temporary, reversible, safe. Elias guided the process but did not control it. The artifact responded smoothly. The Turan observers watched in disbelief as the projected model stabilized. "No permanent change," Elias explained. "Only assistance. Choice remains." Data confirmed it. No harm, no forced alteration. The chamber fell silent. "This could help millions," someone whispered. "Yes," Elias said, "if we choose responsibility over fear." Not everyone was convinced. One leader spoke sharply. "And if humans decide otherwise?" Elias met the gaze calmly. "Then judge us by our actions, not our potential." That answer spread quickly. Some saw wisdom. Others saw risk. Back on Helix Point, tensions remained high. Celari stood with Elias before the artifact once more. "You could do more," she said quietly. "The artifact would follow you." Elias shook his head. "That's why I won't." She studied him. "You understand power." "Humans learned long ago," he replied, "that surviving power matters more than having it." The artifact pulsed softly, steady and calm. Across the galaxy, attitudes began to shift slowly. Fear did not vanish, but it softened. Humans were not conquerors. They were caretakers of change. Still, one truth remained. Humanity could no longer be ignored, and the galaxy would never look at life the same way again. The galaxy did not change in a single moment. It changed in thousands of small decisions. After the demonstration on Helix Point, fear slowly gave way to discussion. Then discussion became cooperation. The artifact remained where it was, untouched unless Elias Rourke was present, not because of law, but because trust demanded it. Doctor. Elias Rourke felt the weight of that trust every day. He stood once more in the central chamber, hands behind his back, facing the artifact. It rested quietly now, no longer restless, no longer searching. Its patterns moved with calm purpose. "You're done looking," Elias said softly. "Now you're waiting." The artifact responded with a gentle shift, a rhythm that matched his breathing. Selari entered the chamber, her steps slower than usual. Her people had changed too. Where once they sought certainty above all else, now they had learned to live with controlled uncertainty. The council has reached a final decision, she said. Elias turned. That sounds serious. It is, she replied. They are redefining biological law. That made him pause. For the first time, Selari continued, biology will no longer be defined as fixed. Adaptation will be recognized as a spectrum. Elias exhaled slowly. That's a big step. For many species, she said, it is terrifying. He nodded. Fear means growth is happening. She allowed a small, rare smile. Across the galaxy, schools rewrote lessons. Scientists questioned assumptions that had lasted for centuries. Life was no longer seen as something that reached a final form. It was a process. And humans had shown that process could be guided with care. Not controlled, not forced, guided. More species requested access to the artifact's models, not the artifact itself. Elias insisted on that rule, no direct use, only understanding. The artifact agreed. It no longer tried to change itself aggressively. Instead, it acted as a teacher, projecting possibilities, showing limits, and always stopping short of action unless invited. That may be its greatest lesson, Selari said during one session. Consent. Yes, Elias replied. That's something humans learned the hard way. One final council meeting was called. This time it was not filled with tension but reflection. A senior council member spoke. Humanity has altered our understanding of life without altering a single species against its will. Another added, they have shown restraint when they could have chosen influence. The final statement came from Selari herself. We once warned the human not to touch the artifact, she said. Now we understand the truth. The artifact was never dangerous. Silence followed. What was dangerous, she continued, was assuming life was finished evolving. The council voted. Humanity was given a new role, not authority, not control, but stewardship of adaptive research. Observers, not rulers, guides, not commanders. Elias accepted on one condition. That no species is ever forced to change, he said, and that humans are judged by what we do, not what we might become. The council agreed. Later, Elias stood alone with the artifact one last time. You did this, he said quietly. Or maybe we did it together. The artifact formed a simple pattern, human neural structure layered over alien design, then slowly separated them again. You didn't need us to be perfect, Elias said, just flexible. The artifact dimmed slightly, settling into a stable state. It had completed its purpose. Selari joined him, watching the object with new understanding. My people believed the warning existed to prevent mistakes, she said, but now I see it differently. How? Elias asked. The warning was never don't touch, she said. It was be ready to change. Elias smiled. Humanity returned to the galaxy not as heroes, not as legends, but as proof. Proof that weakness could be strength, that limits could be invitations, that life was not defined by what it was born as, but by what it chose to become. The artifact would one day fall silent completely. Not broken, not abandoned, simply finished. Its final legacy would not be power, it would be understanding. And in quiet halls across the galaxy, a new truth took root. Humans did not rewrite alien biology. They reminded the universe that life was never meant to stand still.